All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here. Today, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different news in today's video. So, the next expansion coming to Pokemon Pocket was teased this morning and is called Paldean Wonders. This is a mini set, B2A. The next set releasing, I believe, it comes out on the 26th. So, it comes out in about 7 days from now, just like it typically does after the set releases. It is Paldean themed. In the trailer, they showed us some new cards. We're going to break them all down in today's video. We're going to discuss everything there is to discuss about these cards from a meta viability perspective, but we're also going to talk about some other things about this set and about these cards that I think some people are maybe a little interested in. We'll break down all of the events and everything like that. It's going to be a fun one today. Now, to be fair, that's not the only thing we're going to be talking about today. So there is some other news that came out just recently about Pokemon Pocket, so we're going to discuss that as well. So this is going to be kind of a long video, just touching on a bunch of different things. I'm going to just sort of package this as like a big update news video like we do sometimes whenever like a bunch of things come out about Pokemon Pocket. So anyway, let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. The first thing we're going to do is break down the new cards. So again, Paldean Wonders B2A. Very interesting to me that this is a Paldean themed set. Now, I'm a big fan of Generation 9 and Paldea. I think the games had a lot of issues, but in general, the overall concept of the region and the Pokemon and everything is actually really cool. I'm a big fan of it. I think there's a lot of awesome opportunities, whether they go with the Paradox Pokemon route or they kind of keep the, they keep the Mega Evolution theme coming like they have been doing for Pokemon Pocket. To be honest, this set is a little confusing, just based around because I think not many people expected it to be a Paldean themed set. The Pokemon 30th anniversary is coming up, so I think a lot of people were expecting something kind of big or major, which definitely will be coming for Pokemon in general, but for Pokemon Pocket, it seems that they maybe aren't going in, a crazy direction. They're not going like, absolutely nuts with this set release. So this set comes out, I think, the day before Pokemon Day. I think is on the 20th, the 30th anniversary is on the 27th. So this is kind of what we're getting for that update. But anyway, let's talk about this a little bit. What's interesting about the cards they released is that they really didn't show us very much. They showed us 3 trainer cards, 2 supporters, a stadium. They showed us a bunch of stage 1 Pokemon, or basic Pokemon rather, that, are of course alluding to the fact that we're going to be getting the full evolutions. A couple other teasers in some of the artwork and in the trailer, but they gave us 2 EX cards to take a look at. No Mega Evolution Pokemon were showcased in the trailer, which is definitely interesting. Pokemon Pocket has been kind of definitely, giving us Mega Evolution themed, Pokemon and expansions for the last, I guess, 2 or 3 of them now. So I don't really know. I don't know. We'll have to kind of just wait and see if there's Mega Evolution Pokemon in this set. I know that a couple of the Paldean Pokemon, I think, have Mega Evolution. Maybe they just kind of throw in some random other Mega Pokemon in the set. Who knows? But it's Paldean themed. So let's break down the cards. So I'm not going to play the trailer, but you guys can go and watch it if you'd like. Paldean Wonders here. The set is releasing on February 26th, like we said. Okay. So the first Pokemon we're going to take a look at here, they did highlight all of the starter Pokemon. So we saw a Sprigatito, a Fuecoco, and a Quaxly. None of these cards are anything too substantial, so we're not going to, break them down, which again means that we're going to be getting their evolutions. We did see a Meowscarada EX, but we don't know whether or not the Quaxly final evolution or the Fuecoco final evolutions are, what is it, Ceruledge and I forget what the Quaxly's final evolution's called. What's it called? Is it called, Quaquavel or something like that? I don't even know. But we don't know if they're going to be EX Pokemon or not. So let's break down the cards that they've showcased so far. You'll notice something really interesting. The first one we'll take a look at is Gholdengo. And the thing that I wanted to highlight here and just touch on, it's not really something that I would normally talk about, but the card arts and the actual images of these EX cards are directly, I don't want to say copied, but they're taken from the official Pokemon TCG sets back in, a couple of years ago, I guess now, when the Paldean sets were coming out. For reference, here is like this image here to showcase this to you guys. So right here in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, like Gholdengo EX and Meowscarada EX, and the Mousehold cards. So these are cards that they directly kind of took from the official TCG. They sort of just changed them maybe up a little bit, I guess, but they are the same artwork. Some people are definitely, they have some strong opinions about this in general. To be honest, I don't really think this matters much. I think, like, for me and what I care about Pokemon Pocket, the artwork isn't really what matters to me, but this is somewhat substantial. This isn't the first time they've, taken art from the official TCG, but as far as like 4 diamond rarity cards go, like EX cards go, or full art rarity cards go, like 1-star rarities in Pokemon Pocket, this is the first time they're taking like unoriginal art and, bringing them into a Pokemon Pocket expansion. expansion. To me, I don't really mind this, but it is sort of interesting because Pokemon Pocket, as far as what we've been told about what, the purpose of this game or the primary directive of this game, is that it's kind of a collecting simulator app. You open packs and you get these new cards. I think one of the biggest appealing things to Pokemon Pocket to a lot of the players, especially the casual players, is that the cards were unique to Pokemon Pocket. And when you were collecting all of these new arts and stuff, like it was cool because they were specifically only Pokemon Pocket cards. But this is the first time we're getting higher rarity cards that are being brought over from the official TCG, which is just sort of an interesting development. I don't know. These are the 3 cards that they showed, so we don't know if any more cards in the set will also be from the official Pokemon TCG sets from a few years ago. But either way, it is probably a little bit disappointing for some of the collectors of Pokemon Pocket or the people that just enjoy, collecting the cards. For me, from a competitive and strategic standpoint, obviously this doesn't matter, but I just wanted to note it's the first time they've done this. And again, I don't want to I don't want to paint them in a bad light or anything like that. I don't work for Pokemon at all. I'm not like an industry plant for Pokemon Pocket to any degree, but it is interesting. And I understand it's also coming up on the 30th anniversary. There's probably a ton of things that they're developing and working on. So to me, it kind of, again, at first glance, it seems that maybe they kind of took, Pokemon Pocket took a little bit of a backseat, or this expansion, maybe the focus point of development was maybe not as much on this Pokemon Pocket expansion as maybe some other projects. So who knows really what's going on? Maybe they do this more in the future. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's just an interesting thing to note. Some people have been talking about it. I thought it was kind of funny, so I just wanted to mention it. Anyway, let's talk about Gholdengo EX as a card because that's what we do on the channel. If you're new here, what we do is we actually, highlight from a strategic standpoint and from a metagame standpoint, the cards and the strategies for Pokemon Pocket. So, Gholdengo EX is a new Stage 1, normal EX Pokemon, 150 HP. It is a Steel-type Pokemon. This is worth 2 prizes in the game, weak to fire, retreat cost of 2. Simply, it just has 1 attack, Spending Rush. For 1 Steel Energy, one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random. For each Steel or Metal-type energy attached to this Pokemon, for each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 40 damage to it. So this is a very interesting card, I guess, from just a mechanical standpoint. This is a Stage 1 Pokemon. We don't know. Actually, we do have Gimmighouls in the game, I think. So I believe we have 50 HP Gimmighouls. So that is going to definitely fit in with like the Lycia package. We do have some ways to generate. I guess we do have a couple of ways to generate Steel energies. I think a Probopass does it. Of course, we have Dialga EX to generate those energies. So there's going to be some strategies here with Gholdengo when it comes to piling on as many Steel energies as possible. These types of setup decks are actually a little bit more viable now. Steel type in general has a bunch of new kind of damage reduction type cards. We have Metal Core Barrier, we have Steel Apron, we have Lucky Ice Pop to keep these Pokemon alive. Both Gholdengo and Dialga, I believe, have 150 HP, so they're both kind of tanky Pokemon. And of course, we have Protective Poncho. So we can kind of keep Gholdengo on our bench for a while and protect it from maybe getting sniped on the bench and then brought up with Cyrus. So this whole strategy of maybe piling up energies on a Gholdengo might not seem maybe like something that's been relevant in the in the future of Pokemon, or I guess in the past for Pokemon Pocket, but I think this actually has some type of potential. 40 damage for each energy is kind of a lot. Like, it's not going to be that difficult to get 3, 4, 5 energies on Gholdengo. Yes, the energy is spread randomly, and we've seen this effect before, but this is like an uncapped amount of spread damage, which is a completely different thing. This is kind of a mix between something like Celebi EX and then I guess like a Wugtrio EX from back in the day, or maybe a Rayquaza EX, which kind of spreads the damage. So this is actually very interesting. I could definitely see some opportunities where maybe that Dialga in the active spot is able to survive for quite some time between Lucky Ice Pops, Metal Core Barriers. You never really know how we can kind of make that happen, but if that Dialga can sit in the active spot for a long time, I mean, we could potentially, get a ton of different energies onto Gholdengo and absolutely just stomp our opponent. Because this attack, the damage is chosen randomly, how this is going to work is that basically you never know where the damage is going to be placed, and it doesn't account for like over capping on damage, right? So let's just say your opponent has two Pokemon on the board. One has 50 HP and one has, 200 HP. The game doesn't really know, if a Pokemon would have already been KO'd, but like while it's selecting the Pokemon to damage, right? So there's an opportunity where you hit a 50 HP Pokemon for 160 damage or whatever, and then you hit the other one for only like 20. So these effects are a little bit RNG based, but 150 HP, there is the potential that we're not going to get one at KO. There's not that many fire type Pokemon in the game or anything that can hit for 150 that consistently. I guess Altaria can and whatnot, but for the most part, this is something that should be able to live one attack, which means that we can pretty consistently get multiple spending rush attacks off, hopefully, which is going to make things very interesting. This is going to be one of those ticking time bomb type cards. This could very well be very relevant to the metagame. I know it's a stage 1 Pokemon, but we'll have to just wait and see, how it interacts. Again, Metal type does have some support here between some of the energy acceleration cards and, of course, some of the damage mitigations cards and bench protection and Poncho. This strategy could be very meta. It could be very difficult to deal with. That's all I'm saying. If you're not playing a deck that can 1-hit KO a Gholdengo EX, and you're gonna have to take multiple spending rush attacks, like you might just lose the game. It might be like that, which is kind of crazy. So I actually like this card. Again, it's RNG to some degree, but this isn't a card that's oftentimes gonna win the game with 1 attack. It's more so about guaranteeing the game in 2 attacks. So that's sort of how I interpret this card in terms of how it's gonna operate in the metagame, but a very interesting card nonetheless. Next up is Meowscarada EX. Now, Meowscarada EX is a very interesting Pokemon. Again, they are being a little bit unique. So from an actual mechanical standpoint, these Pokemon are actually pretty unique to the metagame. So Meowscarada EX is my favorite starter Pokemon from Paldea. Typically, the grass starters are my favorite other than Swampert. Everybody knows Swampert's my goat. Shout out to Swampert and Mega Swampert. But anyway, Meowscarada EX, Stage 2 EX Pokemon. Again, not a Mega. We don't have any 3-prize Pokemon showcased so far. It doesn't mean they're not coming in the set. Grass type, 160 HP, which is low for a stage 2 Pokemon. This is the lowest amount of HP out of any starter EX Pokemon, I believe. 160 on a stage 2 is quite low, which means that they think this card is going to be very strong, is what they're telling us by kind of giving this only 160 HP. It's going to be very offensively focused, very fast-paced. However, it's also a grass Pokemon, so that might be some part of the balancing here. They know that we have things like Leaf Cape and Lilligant and Erica's. All those are all things that kind of make these grass Pokemon very, very much, they make it a lot harder to KO. So we can Leaf Cape a Meowscarada, give it 190 HP. You could play Lilligant. I'm not saying you would, but you could to boost the HP a little bit more. Erica's can heal this thing for 50, so you can play Erica's and you could play Lily. But anyway, that's the whole thing here. Retreat cost of 1, also weak to fire. So both EX cards are immediately weak to fire. Interesting, nonetheless. But again, this is a 2-prize Pokemon, and Rare Candy exists. So let's take a look at this Pokemon's attack. The first one is Flower Trick. This is like the signature attack for Meowscarada. For 1 grass energy, you choose a spot from among your opponent's active spot and bench, so you can choose anywhere on the board. They're kind of calling it a spot, meaning that if I choose the bottom left bench or the middle bench or the back right bench or the active spot, it's choosing the spot and not necessarily the Pokemon. So that's the main concept difference between Meowscarada EX. Choose 1 spot. At the end of your opponent's next turn, do 70 damage to the Pokemon in the spot that you chose. So again, this is something we've never seen before for Pokemon Pocket. Now, the big question here, which I assume is part of the whole dynamic of this attack, is that your opponent doesn't know what spot you chose. That's how I'm interpreting this attack, which is really funny. And I think that kind of plays into like the magic trick type thing with Meowscarada. So I think you choose 1 spot, your opponent doesn't know what spot you chose. At the end of their next turn, that's 70 damage. So this is really interesting. This is one of the more strange cards we've ever seen. However, it's a 1 energy attack cost. And then we have a 2 energy attack cost, being 80 damage, which again doesn't seem that much. Solar Beam, 80 damage, but it's really not that bad. And we'll talk about why I think this card is pretty relevant. So Grass type means that we are hitting for weakness on a lot of relevant Pokemon in the metagame, whether that's Absol EX or Hydreigon, but this is not going to be dealing weakness damage to the bench, so we got to keep that in mind. But also, it is hitting for weakness in the active spot, and because it's a single energy attack cost, this means that Meowscarada can attack turn 2 on your going first, which is a really big deal. This isn't something that we've seen too much. Garchomp EX was a card back in the day that did something similar. I believe it was like 40. It was like, was it 50? Or was it 30? It might have been 30. It might have been 30 damage to a bench. So this is a lot of damage to be able to get off on your second turn going first. 70 damage. This will one-hit KO basic Pokemon that haven't evolved yet. Specifically, you know, it's just going to KO, I mean, basically any basic, right? That is going to evolve, like a Dino or what else, like a Swablu. Like there's so many Pokemon that we can KO here with this attack, which is pretty cool. And again, your opponent doesn't know what you chose. So dynamically, I think that this is a really interesting card. You can go Rare Candy turn 2. It's also a grass Pokemon, which means you could play Quick Growth Extract. We don't know what the Florigato, which I believe is the middle evolution, is. We don't know what that card is yet. But assuming because of the 1 energy attack cost, this is definitely going to be a Rare Candy based deck list, which is relevant because we're actually getting a card that is a supporter card that's going to be somewhat relevant to the metagame, I believe, for Rare Candy decks. But yeah, so the concept is we evolve Rare Candy turn 2, we Flower Trick, and if our opponent doesn't kind of guess correctly, or even if they do, if we just select the active spot, it might force our opponent to want to retreat, which is a big deal. You know what I mean? Now, I also don't know if we can select a spot that doesn't have a Pokemon on it at that moment that we're selecting, right? So if like we select a bench spot, if our opponent doesn't have any bench Pokemon, and then then they put out a bench Pokemon, like I think that's how that works. So it's very unique, a very strange Pokemon. I think most of the time though, we're likely going to be targeting the active spot unless our opponent can't retreat. And then you can kind of guarantee you can target the bench. So this is a very interesting dynamic card. It's going to be able to just KO basic Pokemon if you don't evolve them, you know, on your first turn, because this is a card that, again, it's after your opponent's next turn, right? So your opponent will get the opportunity no matter what to Rare Candy their Pokemon or evolve their Pokemon, whatever the case may be. It's early damage, and we are 2 at KOing basically anything in the game and then living an attack from most things in the game. So I'm kind of thinking about this in terms of its matchup into Hydreigon specifically. Let's say your opponent is playing Hydreigon and they lead Dino, right? And let's just say they're going for a second and you're going first. So if we do get the turn 2 Rare Candy Meowscarada, we can Flower Trick the active spot and we can say, hey, listen, if you don't retreat this Dino, it's going to get KO'd. Or if you don't evolve it, it's going to get KO'd. And even if they do also go turn 2 Rare Candy, they're going to be taking 70 damage at the end of the turn. That's going to be 90 hitting for weakness. Hydreigon already takes damage after it uses its ability. Even if they attack us, we're living a hit, which means that next turn we can just Solar Beam the active for 80. So this should be something that is quite strong into Hydreigon and against really a lot of other decks in the game. What's scary to me about Meowscarada specifically is that we do have a lot of healing, and we have Leaf Cape, and we have a lot of different cards in the game to help keep this thing alive for quite some time. So at the end of the day, it's early damage. This is a very aggressive card. I'm thinking things like Crobat EX. I'm thinking things like Garchomp a little bit back in the day. But the main difference between Meowscarada EX and Garchomp EX is that 2 energy attack cost. I don't think people are really thinking about it in the correct sense. You're always going to be able to just hit for 80 on the turn after you Flower Trick, right? And you're always going to be able to Flower Trick on that first turn. So it's actually really, really nice. This is a very early game pressurized Pokemon. It's going to be very aggressive. It's going to be kind of tricky opportunities to outplay your opponent. I really like this card. I really do. Hopefully it's strong enough to be relevant into most things in the metagame. Again, we don't really know at the end of the day, but it isn't a 3-prize Pokemon. It's a 2-prize Pokemon, which is relevant. Like, that's a pretty big deal. We also, don't forget, we also have, don't we already have Sprigatito in the game? Like, don't we already have a Meowscarada card that's not an EX? I could be completely forgetting, but I'm pretty sure it's Meowscarada. And this is the one that used to deal increased damage, right? Yeah, like we have Fighting Claws Meowscarada. So, like, we already have this card, and we have the Find a Friend Sprigatito. I guess we're going to be getting a new Florigato, but the Sprigatito that we've had before is a Cry for Help. So you can put one random grass Pokemon from your deck into your hand. So this is going to make it very consistent if we just lead Sprigatito for us to get into Meowscarada turn 2. So, which I really like. So I think that there's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. And I'm just excited for Meowscarada, and I think that it's going to be a nice upgrade to sort of the grass archetypes, quite frankly, because I think both cards are quite good. I like Meowscarada. Yeah, and that's kind of my thoughts about it. Again, we'll go back to this because there is a new supporter card. In fact, that's kind of the next thing we'll take a look at. Actually, I guess we'll take a look at Maushold, which is a 60 HP Stage 1 Pokemon. We had a Maushold release in the last set, I think, which is weird that we're getting another Maushold. Maybe it was the set before. This is the... Sorry, this is the full art. It's got the attack 999 for 2 colorless energy, 60 damage, flip 3 coins. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, this is a very toxic card. Again, I don't know if this is a really that relevant of a card just because like your opponent can just attach to the bench. So it's kind of difficult to play something like this, especially since it's going to just get 1-hit KO'd by so many things because it only has 60 HP. This is almost a stage 1 Pokemon that you could search with Lissia, which is hilarious. Is Lissia specified a basic Pokemon? I don't even know. It might be actually. But anyway, yeah, that's Meowscarada. It's a really awesome art. I love this card. And again, it was from the official TCG. So, you know, again, out of all the arts they could have chosen, I really do love this card. I don't think it'll be competitively meta viable, but it is a very interesting concept here. So we're getting a Pawmi, which means Pawmot's coming to the game. In fact, we actually got a supporter card that interacts with Pawmot. We have a Smoliv, which means we will be getting Arboliva, I believe is what it's called. We'll be getting the evolution line for Smoliv. Fido, which means we will be getting a whatever the evolution of this Pokemon is called. Is it Dash Bun or something? I forget. We're going to be getting him. Paldean Wooper. We already have Paldean Clodsire EX, so I don't know if we're going to be getting a non-EX version, but shout out to Paldean Wooper, one of the funniest little Pokemon in the game. Let's take a look at Klawf. So these are some final evolution Pokemon. Here's Klawf. It's a basic fighting, 100 HP, weak to grass, retreat cost of 3. And it's got the attack here, Adrenaline Hammer, 70 damage, and this Pokemon's now confused. So I think that's kind of a throwaway card. I'm not sure why they really showed it to us, but there you go. And then we have a new Ceruledge. I don't know if we ever have Ceruledge in the game, but here's Ceruledge. Psychic, stage 1, 110 HP, Fighting Sword for 2 Psychic energies and a colorless, so 3 total energies, 70 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX, which does also count for Megas, it does 140. So 3 energies, 140. It's tough. Again, it's like, how are we getting 3 energies on the Ceruledge? You could play this with Gardevoir and hit for 140. It's interesting. I don't know. It's going to be really difficult to get the energies on this unless we're playing something like a Gardevoir, quite frankly. But it is interesting. 140 damage is 140. And that's a decent amount of damage. We also have a Tinkatink. Again, we already have Tinkaton EX in the game, but might be getting a new Tinkaton. Who knows? You never know. Here's a full art Charcadet, which I also don't know if this is a new art. Somebody can tell me. This is a promo. This might be a reused art as well. I don't really know, but we are getting this Charcadet here, which is a promo full art. And then here's the promo Pawmi. Does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for 1 energy, just like this one does. It's the same card. Anyway, that's really it. They didn't highlight many Pokemon. They kind of just showed us all these like basic cards and they give us Gholdengo and Meowscarada, but that's all they showed, which is very curious. Like no Megas highlighted in the trailer. Really not too much information to go off of, but they did give us 3 new trainer cards. Let's take a look at these trainer cards because yet again, this is these cards, the art is also recycled from the official set, which is interesting. I know these aren't like 4 diamond or 1-star cards, but the art is the exact same. And the concepts for these cards are actually very similar as well. So let's take a look at them. The first one is Arven. If you haven't played the official Pokemon TCG, Arven was definitely a meta staple when it came out. It was a very good card. Basically, it was a supporter card and allowed you to search your deck in the official TCG for a tool card and an item card. It was absolutely very, very good. And now, this Arven card is a little different for Pokemon Pocket, but the concept is very similar. You flip a coin, and if heads, you grab a random item card from your deck, so a random item card, and if tails, put a random tool card from your deck into your hand. So the reason why I think this card is actually pretty good is because it's just a guaranteed draw 1, and most of the time, you're going to want, if you're going to play this in a deck that has tool cards that you need, and also item cards that you need. And the reason why I was kind of mentioning this card with Meowscarada is because most of the time, I think in Meowscarada decks, you're probably going to be playing multiple Leaf Capes and then multiple rare candies. So when we're playing a Meowscarada deck, we can throw Arven in our deck and play Arven. On the turns, maybe we don't have Copycat or Research, and it's basically going to guarantee that we either grab rare candy or Leaf Cape. Sometimes maybe Pokeball as well. And even if you grab Pokeball with Arven, it's really not that bad because you're pulling 1 card out of your deck with Arven and then you're pulling another card with Pokeball, so it's effectively a draw 2. Actually, really not that bad. I think Arven is going to be a pretty relevant card. Maybe though, maybe not. Again, Pokemon Pocket is strange because we only have 20 cards in the deck, so you got to be a little bit careful as to you know, like whether you think a card is useful or not, just because there's such limited space. There really is such limited space in the game for like trainer cards. So I actually really do like Arven. Maybe it sees 0 play. Maybe it sees more play. Like at the end of the day, playing a Research and Copycat is just going to be better. So if you have space in your deck, then maybe you just play those cards. Like, you're definitely playing double research, but maybe you play one copycat, one Arven in some decks. I don't really know. This is also going to be really good in just not Meowscarada, but it's going to be really good in like everything. Keep in mind, Hydreigon also plays double Poison Barb and plays double Rare Candy. So Arven's potentially going to be really good in Hydreigon. Suicune plays double Rare Candy for Gholdengo, and they play Giant Cape. So Arven seemingly does fit into basically most meta decks that play Rare Candies and Tool cards, which is most decks currently in the metagame. Maybe it sees play, maybe it doesn't, but I do see the use for this card. It's very applicable and it makes a lot of sense. It would be broken if it grabbed a random one of both, though. It would be way too broken. It would be like the best card in the game. But anyway, that's Arven. Next up is Mesagoza, which quite literally is the exact same card that was released in the official TCG. The art is the same and the effect is the same. It is a new stadium card. Once during each player's turn, that player may flip a coin. If heads, that player puts a random Pokemon from their deck into their hand. Now, this is a really, really, really good card, but you have to keep in mind that your opponent can use your stadium effect as well. It works for both players. So when you play Mesagoza, sure, you're going to be the first person that gets to flip a coin and potentially grab a Pokemon from your deck, which could be a really big deal. Again, think about all of these decks that kind of need, you know, Hydreigon turn 2 to Rare Candy, or you need Gholdengo. So Mesagoza might be a card that finds its way into literally every deck in the entire game, or maybe nobody plays it, because again, the decks are really small, but this is probably one of the most universally useful cards. I don't know if this was like a card that was in every deck for the official Pokemon TCG, but it's a bit different in the official Pokemon TCG because just the way that the games go and you have much more space in your deck. A lot of decks, even right now in Pokemon Pocket, since Stadium's released, don't play Stadiums because like they're not like that useful. And again, like the deck space in Pokemon Pocket is so limited, but this is a card that every deck would like to use. Could be extremely, extremely useful. It's just a +1 draw half the time. So most of the time you'd probably play this, but again, you also have to keep in mind Pokemon Pocket games are pretty short. So you're at the most only going to be flipping coins like 2, 3, maybe 4 times. Yeah, sure, if you get lucky every time, that's going to be really nice, but you're already playing Pokeballs in your deck. You're already guaranteed to lead with a basic Pokemon. Not many decks really play that many Pokemon, so we'll have to see. I think Mesagoza is going to be like a staple in most decks, or again, nobody's going to play it because it might not even be worth to play it. I just don't know. But I would rather, this is also one of the only ways to search for an evolution Pokemon, which is a really big deal, right? Because if you flip a coin, even if it's just a random Pokemon from your deck, if the only Pokemon in your deck are evolution Pokemon, it's the only way to draw like specifically an evolution Pokemon. So things like that typically are really strong in Pokemon Pocket. Again, very funny. This is the exact same card as the official Pokemon TCG, like to a T. Like everything about this is the exact same, which is just really funny. But shout out, we got Mesagoza. Next up is Nemona, which reads here, it's a supporter card. It reads, during this turn, attacks used by your Pawmot do 80 damage, 80 more damage, that's a lot, to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. Okay, so we don't know what Pawmot is yet, but I got to assume that no matter what Pawmot is, it's probably just doing like 70 damage at the most. Like I don't really see how like even with Nemona, you're going to be doing a total of more than, I don't know, like 140, 130 damage. I would be shocked. Like I would be genuinely shocked if like Pawmot was like 80 damage and then you added another 80 with Nemona. A card like this could be relevant. The whole strategy between Nemona and Pawmot could be really good, or it could be completely irrelevant. It really just matters about the damage thresholds, right? If we are one-hit KOing most Mega Pokemon, and we are a Lightning type Pokemon, Pawmot will be, which means that we are hitting for weakness on things like Gholdengo EX and Suicune EX, which is relevant. So if we're able to KO those Pokemon for weakness, then yeah, I could see this being a somewhat effective strategy. However, inherently, things like this are pretty inconsistent just because you need the Pokemon. Pawmot is a stage 2 Pokemon, so you not only need the stage 2 Pokemon in play, but you also need the supporter card the turn that you're attacking. So strategies like this are oftentimes a little bit inconsistent. We saw this sort of with Garchomp Cynthia, although Garchomp I think was a dual energy attack cost, so but even that saw a little bit of play, quite frankly. So we don't know what Pawmot is yet. We'll have to wait and see. This is guaranteeing that Pawmot's not an EX card though, because it would say Pawmot EX. So yeah, anyway, we'll have to see what it is, but maybe something that's strong into Suicune and Gholdengo, which, you know, I guess we always take these days, but we're really looking for things that are hard counter to Hydreigon. And maybe, just maybe, Meowscarada is the answer to that. Again, who knows? We could be getting Skeledirge or Quaquaval or whatever. I don't even know what the evolution form of this Quaxley is. But we could be getting these cards as EX cards. We could be getting Arboliva as a Stage 1 Grass EX. Who knows? Again, all of these Pokemon we're getting the evolutions for. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, maybe we're getting Megas in this set. I just don't know. I really don't know. we have to kind of wait and see what's going on here. They really didn't show us much, but maybe some leaks will come out in the next week or so. At the end of the day, it's new cards. And whenever new cards come into the game, the metagame changes, the decks change, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happens, right? So again, I know a lot of people's initial concept about this trailer might be disappointing. I think a lot of people wanted like Hoenn or Generation 5. I know I've been waiting for Gen 5. I need my Unova set coming, but I guess they kind of just went the Paldea, the Paldea route. And quite frankly, kind of makes sense probably from them from a development perspective. They were probably like, hey, we got so many other things going on. We're gonna like rehash a lot of the cards that maybe we've already made and just sort of reuse the art. It's a little disappointing in that sense from a collecting standpoint and from like an originality standpoint. But again, at the end of the day, all I care about is like the metagame and the meta progression and how fun the game is from a strategic standpoint. So I think a lot of these cards are actually pretty cool. I think Gholdengo and Meowscarada both have actual real metagame potential. I really do think so. I'm genuinely curious if Megas are going to be in the set. I really am. Because this seems like a complete deviation from Mega Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like Paldea is not known for Mega. It's known for like terastallization, which they haven't hinted at all in the set. So I have no idea what's going on. I really don't. But anyway, very, very cool in some ways. So I'm excited. That's really all it is. If we go down here, we have the new B2A emblem event, which means that we probably will not be getting ranked until like the second week after the set releases. So we're going to go a couple weeks off for ranked mode. Here's the charcoal drop event. It says charcoal, but I don't know if they mean Charcadet. I don't know. Charcoal drop event. We have Palmy and Paldean Clodsire, which is a Wonder Pick event. We got some new accessories, as you can see here, and that's basically it. That's all we know what's coming. In the trailer, though, I do actually kind of just want to pull this up. This might be super loud. Jeez Louise. I do want to pull this up because in this trailer somewhere, they did show Qianpao, I think, in the background. Can I pull it up somewhere? It's right here, yeah. Okay, so can I zoom in on this? You guys can, oh my gosh, look at, I hid my face. You guys can't really see this, but I'm just gonna mention, Qianpao was shown in the background right here, and also Squawkabillies are in the background here. So kind of confirming we're getting these cards without really knowing what the cards are. Squawkabilly EX was broken in the official TCG. So maybe we get something like that. That would be really cool. But Qianpao EX was also a very, very strong card. So there's potential here for things that are going to be really relevant in the metagame that aren't necessarily, haven't been highlighted yet. And Qianpao is one of the strongest Pokemon that came from Paldea, both in TCG and in VGC and in the video game. So I'm really excited. There's also, what's the other one called? Qianpao, Tinglu, and then Wu Qin, I think is what they're called. There's also, what's the fire, like goldfish one? What's that one called? I forget. I don't remember. I don't remember, but that's also, so we could be getting like the Rumination legendary Pokemon, which are really cool. And I'm actually really excited about all of that, to be fair. Tinglu is also one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. So there's a bunch of stuff that could be coming. Again, Squawkabilly also could be coming. So I think the set has a lot of potential, quite frankly. And I think that, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just snuck in a bunch of super meta viable Pokemon here that were, really shake up the metagame pretty drastically. I wouldn't be surprised at all, quite frankly. Paldea's got a ton of strong Pokemon. So power creep might be coming. So anyway, there it is. There it is. I know some people are maybe disappointed in Paldea. Maybe they're disappointed in the reused artworks. Again, I understand all of your concerns. Now, I do feel obligated to say, especially as we kind of go into the next section of this video, this is all going to be a long video. I am not like, there's a Pokemon community ambassador program where like people, content creators and people in the community kind of take the community's feedback and they kind of give it back to the Pokemon company and the developers. I'm not a part of that program, so you can address your concerns in the comments, but I don't have like a direct connection to Pokemon, so I can't relay your information. But definitely go check out some other people. We do have some people in the Pokemon Pocket community that are a part of that ambassador program. So if you do have some opinions or concerns, like you should go ahead and maybe kind of put it over to them and they can maybe relay that information. Not that I'm not going to listen to you. It's just Pokemon doesn't listen to me, so I can't help you really much. But anyway, that being said, let's get into the next part of this video, which was definitely a pretty popular topic of debate for the last couple of days. This came out like a day or two before the set released, which is this sort of post right here. This is just a Twitter post of like basically, you know, an article or whatever that was written. But basically this says Pokemon TCG Pocket will not be an esport. Chris Brown, Pokemon Esports and event director, confirmed in London. I guess he was in London, I don't know. That Pokemon TCG Pocket will not be added as a main title to the esports calendar. He also mentioned they are focused on improving the trade system and also the side events. So it links to this article here from Insider Gaming. I don't know. I probably won't read through this whole thing here. I guess maybe we'll read it a little bit. Let's just read this article a little bit. Pokemon Pocket has exploded in popularity since it was released in 2024. While the game offers a competitive approach with battles against other players across the world, there's currently no plans to provide an official esports scene for the title. Now, when they mean like an esports scene, I assume that they're talking about the official competitive circuit for Pokemon's titles. So Pokemon runs like official tournaments. They have like their, you know, internationals and regional championships and world championships for some of their games, like the official Pokemon trading card game, like Pokemon video game competition, like VGC, like Scarlet and Violet. They also do it for Pokemon Go, and they do it for Pokemon Unite. So they have this sort of circuit of like tournaments and competitions. And I think this is what they're talking about, that they're not planning to add Pokemon Pocket as an official like event or circuit to those, like to that entire thing that they do there on the competitive side for their games. This is, to be honest, guys, this should not be like a surprise to anybody. This exact thing was mentioned, I think, a year ago. I don't know if anybody really expected them to do that. I never, quite frankly, ever expected them to be doing anything like that. I do think it would be really cool, but it's not something I would expected or have ever expected them to do for Pokemon Pocket. There's some reasons for that, but we'll get into it in a little bit. Pokemon TCG Pocket will remain a side event at competitive tournaments. So if you guys remember at the Pokemon World Championships, they had like a side event tournament for Pokemon Pocket, which a ton of people played and it was really fun. I think for those players, they did like a dual deck tournament. It was pretty cool, but it wasn't, you know, they weren't like on stage. It wasn't like an event, right? They didn't like stream it and have like they didn't have like a prize. Maybe they had a prize pool, I don't know. But it wasn't like an official event for the championships. Right here. Speaking to Insider Gaming and other media outlets at Pokemon EUC in London. Okay, so that's why they're in London, I guess, for EUC. Brown said the current approach for TCG Pocket feels great, he said. Feels great. Currently, while there are discussions to improve the overall experience for Pocket players, it doesn't include adding the game to competitive schedule. Right here, it says, with Pocket, what feels great for us right now is the side events, a casual way for people to meet up, Brown said. So again, I don't think they want or really have like an idea of making Pokemon Pocket like an esport, like they said, right? I think that Pokemon Pocket in any game can be played competitively. I think Pokemon Pocket is a great example of that. It's not a game that you would think is like a competitive like esport type title. Very much like the official Pokemon trading card game. They do have the competitive game and they have a circuit and they have prize pools, which is really cool, but it's such a minuscule amount of what the greater community is for Pokemon cards. I would say like 99.999% of people that collect Pokemon cards or like Pokemon cards like don't play the game and they don't compete at an actual like sport event level. There is a community of people that do that, and it's super cool. So shout out to all those people. But I don't think it's really the core focus of like Pokemon TCG in general. I think they're more focused about like, you know, people collecting cards and selling cards. Like that's where they make their money. But anyway, we're talking through things like how we can encourage trading. We want to support the Pocket community at the shows, but there's no plans for it to be a main title. So again, kind of makes sense to me. Currently has 4 genres available. Like I said, yeah. So, the TCG, Go, Unite, VGC, no release date's been revealed for Pokemon Champions yet, but Pokemon Champions is a whole other thing. And I think that from a competitive Pokemon perspective, like Champions is sort of where they're trying to go for it, because that's going to be like a mobile title, which I think is going to do really big things for like VGC in the competitive video game aspect of Pokemon Pocket. But anyway, that's the news. So let's just talk about this a little bit. The reason I said this shouldn't be surprising to anybody, because it really shouldn't. Pokemon Pocket has never really been considered like a title that was made for competitive gameplay perspectives, right? I think the developers know that there's a metagame and that people play the game and they compete. The grassroots tournament scene has been extremely active ever since Pokemon Pocket released. To be fair, I wanted to mention this and talk about this in a video because a lot of other creators have, especially like in the competitive Pocket scene. And myself as a channel that specifically sort of talks about competitive Pokemon Pocket from like a strategic perspective, I feel somewhat obligated to talk about this. If you don't know, we do run a weekly tournament series on limitless.com. You should go register, by the way, link down below, for PMPT number 21. This is a weekly tournament series that we run for Pokemon Pocket. And again, we cover it on the channel every week. It's a really awesome thing that we do. But keep in mind, guys, like this is a completely community ran tournament. Like this is not affiliated with Pokemon Pocket to any degree or Dina. We're not supported by them to any degree. All of the money that we give in prize pools is directly from like literally my pockets. We don't have a sponsor or anything. So this is something that I just basically do with a bunch of other people in my community to just give people an outlet to play the game at a competitive level. And it's really, really fun. And again, for me, I don't actually have time to compete in tournaments, but I love that people do compete in tournaments because it gives me the opportunity to like analyze the metagame and then make content about that. So that's sort of what I do here on the channel is I talk about the metagame. I talk about decks, I talk about strategies and how the cards all interact. And all of the data and the results that we get from the online tournaments allows me to make the content that I make. I'm not the first person to do this. It's important to note. There's been various other content creators that ran large tournament series since the beginning of Pokemon Pocket. We used to cover a lot of those tournaments on the channel, but eventually they kind of stopped doing it. And nobody was really running like a large kind of premier style weekly tournament series, which is why we ended up just kind of stepping in just purely because nobody else was really doing it. Again, as a person in the community that made competitive based Pokemon Pocket content, I kind of felt obligated to do so. We've given away in 21 tournaments. I think we've given away thousands of dollars in prizing, which is really cool. And again, this is all money that is brought in from the community for you guys watching my videos and streams and subscribing and things like that. And then given back to the competitive community. So it's a completely community nonprofit run event. Nobody's making money off this. And it's a big team effort. So again, I kind of host the tournaments, but I don't run them. We have a massive team of moderators that run the Discord server. We have a judge team that kind of runs the tournament on Limitless. We have all of our casters on the team like Taj and Jay and everybody else that participates to run like the tournament live streams. It's a massive community effort, quite frankly. And we've been doing it for like 3 or 4 months now. This is our 21st week doing it, which is pretty cool. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to that. But anyway, getting back to this whole whole esports event. Yeah, this isn't a surprise to me, mainly because I just don't, I think at the end of the day, Pokemon Pocket is certainly looked at as a less competitive game, like in its base value. Like, I don't think the developers intended this game to have such a competitive audience or community around it. Although it does certainly exist, and it's actually quite popular, I would say, just based around like what I know. I mean, my channel is specifically talking about this types of stuff, and we have almost 50,000 subscribers. So there's definitely an audience for it. There's definitely a community around it, and I'm really happy and proud to be a part of that community to any degree that I'm able to. But it's important to note that Pokemon Pocket is separate from the Pokemon TCG. So like when people talked about this originally and they thought if Pokemon Pocket would get official events and stuff at the tournaments, I never thought that would happen, mainly just because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, there's no reason for them to do it. I think it would be generally pretty confusing for the viewers, for people that don't participate but want to like watch or kind of get into Pokemon TCG. It would be pretty confusing if there was like 2 separate games and they both had like competitive circuits and the cards were different and the decks were different and the rules were different. I think it would just be, in general, very confusing for the entirety of the competitive circuit if there was 2 like TCG type games. And also, like, I think a big part of like competitive TCG is the fact that it's not a video game. You know what I mean? It's like a physical game. So like you have to go to like your local game stores and you compete in tournaments and you qualify, you get points, you go to regionals. And it's like, there's very much like a physical interaction aspect of it. It's a very different skill set. If you've never played the official Pokemon TCG, which I would definitely recommend that you do because it's a fun game and it's a great community over there as well. So it's definitely something I would recommend, but it's a completely different experience to Pokemon Pocket, right? If you're going to be competing in the official Pokemon TCG, and they do have a virtual client, but it's very much not like what the competitive is. It's about like building decks physically, like learning how to actually shuffle your deck and, like sequence cards and play in like a physical event, like against another person. It's just a completely different world. So I just don't think it would ever make sense for them to have like a Pokemon Pocket circuit. alongside the official TCG circuit. It would be like if they added, I don't even know, like it would be like if they added like Pokemon Showdown or something like to the alongside like the VGC Scarlet and Violet. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense for them to do that. Maybe that's a bad comparison, but that's just sort of my feeling there. I've heard a lot of discourse around the community since this announcement came out, talking about that Pokemon Pocket isn't a competitive game, and that it doesn't make sense to do this because of the RNG simplicity kind of nature of Pokemon Pocket. This is something I generally don't agree with, quite frankly. I don't want to I'm not going to go on the defensive here. Like there's thousands and thousands of people that play Pokemon Pocket competitively. The ranked mode is very successful. And again, the competitive community and the content creation community is pretty massive. We have a ton of people, not only on my channel and my community, but other content creators. So it's definitely a very active community. I think the game is competitive, just maybe at a different level or a different concept from the official TCG. I just don't really agree with that argument. Although some of the additions to the game recently, like Lucky Ice Pop with Hydreigon, like it does kind of make the game feel very RNG focused, which it definitely is. But traditionally, Pokemon Pocket's been a game that's less focused on like the actual stretch of gameplay and like outplaying your opponent and making decisions and winning games that way. The game itself, the gameplay has always been somewhat RNG based, but I think a lot of the skill expression for Pokemon Pocket and the competitive aspect of it has been the process and the entirety of building your deck, choosing what deck to play, and choosing the correct cards to play at any given time, given the competition when other people are playing. Like that to me is like the big skill expression for Pokemon Pocket, which is again, the entire reason that my channel exists, is to kind of explore the strategic aspects of not playing the game, because we don't do a lot of that on the channel. There's other content creators that will tell you how to play the game. What we do on the channel is we highlight the deck lists. We talk about the combination of cards in decks and the interactions between them and their matchup spreads and how they interact with other decks. Like that's what this channel is really all about. And it's what I really love about Pokemon Pocket is this skill expression and the creativity and the strategy that comes from building your deck list and then playing it in a tournament. We see this from time and time again in tournament play specifically, that very unique decks that maybe have a couple of cards that people don't typically play, or you're combining certain cards that don't typically see play, and they do well in competition, right? So there's a lot of really fun expression to that. And if we go back to like the side events that they ran for Pokemon Pocket, I think that you could easily, and I say this very, very like truthfully, you could easily have a very, very diverse competitive like actual circuit for Pokemon Pocket. You would just do it differently than the TCG. And I think the dual deck format is a really good example of that. If I were to run like an actual competitive circuit, like if they put me in charge or whatever for Pokemon Pocket, what I would do is I would actually do like a dual deck or even a triple deck format where players go into a match and they play a best of three, but they bring like 3 different decks. And then they kind of choose which deck they want to bring to those games, and they play a best of 3, but it's a different deck every game. That way, a lot of the strategy and stuff, it's almost like an interactive like auto battler is kind of how I like define Pokemon Pocket. It's again, the skill expression isn't as much about like playing the game, although there is definitely skill expression when it comes to playing the game. I think we see that every single week when we run our tournaments. People make very smart decisions. They make certain plays that end up winning them or losing them in the game. But I would say that for the most part, what I would do is you know, keep that dual deck or even a triple deck format. And I think a big skill expression personally would be like choosing the correct cards to play and choosing which, you know, kind of predicting what cards your opponent's going to play. And it's again, like kind of like an interactive auto battler, but a lot of the skill expression comes before the battling process when you're building out your decks and you're choosing what cards to play. That's kind of how I always interpreted Pokemon Pocket. Again, one of the most ways to be successful when you're playing even ranked or tournament play for Pokemon Pocket has always been playing the right deck, playing the right cards, which is again the whole reason why this channel exists. So if you see people in the comments that are saying, oh, like Pokemon Pocket's too like RNG to be competitive, or it's not a skill-based game, like quite frankly, and I'm not here to call people out, but the only people that are kind of making that argument or really trying to push that narrative are 2 types of people. And I'm not trying to like I'm not going at anybody, but the only 2 people that 2 types of people that would say that are the people that are just bad at the game, so they want to feel better about themselves, or people that I guess have like a competing position in maybe a different game or a different TCG, or maybe the official TCG. People that maybe just don't want Pocket to be looked at as competitive because they want their game to be looked at as more competitive, right? Those are the only two types of people that would make that argument. At the end of the day, if you like Pokemon Pocket, you should play it as you see fit, whether that's just collecting cards, whether that's, you know, playing ranked battles or playing tournaments. The game is fun to play. I never looked at Pokemon Pocket and opening packs as a game. That's not a game to me. Pack opening simulator is cool, something that makes a lot of money, quite frankly, I'm sure. Collecting cards is always really fun, but to me, that's not a game. That's not a game. Like, it's not interactive. It's not strategic. It doesn't require any thought. It's not a game to me. The game for Pokemon Pocket is building decks and seeing how they compete against other decks. And to me, it's really fun to do that, which is why I love Pokemon Pocket, why this channel exists, and why I make videos basically every day talking about different decks and different cards and different interactions. So I know that there's a lot of people that share that fondness for Pokemon Pocket with me. And again, I'm not saying I'm I'm not obligated, I guess, to be like the person. Again, I don't want to put myself in a position like I'm speaking for the community, because quite frankly, I don't speak for the community, and I haven't been put in a position to represent the community by any degree, right? And it's important to note that. So everything in this video is my opinions, and you can disagree with them. You can do whatever you want. Again, this is not a surprise to me. If you were to tell me, or if you did tell me 2 days ago that Pokemon Pocket wouldn't be an esport on the official Pokemon circuit, I'd be like, yeah, we already know that. That's not a, I don't know why you're telling me this. Because again, this exact thing came out a year ago. Maybe a year from now, they kind of come out with something else and they're like, oh, maybe we're going to do something, but to me, I don't think they'd ever do that. It doesn't make sense. I do think it would be really cool, though, if they did something for the competitive community of Pokemon Pocket. I think that it's not smart to avoid those people in the community. Again, it is a pretty large part of the game. I think that if you just did something, like anything, it doesn't have to be, an official tournament in the circuit. Like literally anything would be appreciated from the competitive community. So, yeah, but this is no surprise to me. This is old news. I'm not. To be fair, I don't really know why this is even like a topic, but I guess it just is, and because this is something people are talking about, I feel somewhat obligated to talk about it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of my opinions about it. That's my feelings. A bit of a rant there. I think Pokemon Pocket is really fun. I think there's a lot of strategic value to it. And I think a lot of people agree, just based around the community and the thousands of people that compete in the online tournaments. We're going to continue to run our tournaments. Again, not affiliated with Pokemon Pocket or Dina to any degree. But we're going to do it anyway because it's fun and there's no reason not to. That's the whole, we do it because we want to, you know what I mean? And we're not really benefiting from it to any degree other than by having fun. And that's what it's all about for Pokemon Pocket. So again, you can play Pokemon Pocket however you want. That's what it comes down to. If you just want to collect cards, that's totally fine. Again, I don't know. I would say that's kind of a weird thing to do at this point, to be honest, just because they're just giving you the same arts that came out in the official TCG, so that seems counterproductive. But for me, I've always thought the biggest value for Pokemon Pocket, the reason why I open the app is to engage with the game, to play it, to see the cards, to strategize, to build decks. That's what's fun for me. But if somebody has fun just opening packs and then closing the app, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Yeah, maybe something in the future comes up from a competitive aspect for Pokemon Pocket, but there's a lot of other things, I think, in the community and in the game that need to be changed before that happens. Yeah, that's, again, this shouldn't be any surprise. We're in the exact same position we were a year ago and likely going to be in the same position we are a year from now. If you're competing in Pokemon Pocket and you're hoping to be like an esports star, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I don't think that's really ever going to be the case, but you never know. And again, big shout out to all of the people in the competitive community. Cause I mean, literally, the people who do compete in these tournaments and play ranked all the time, every month, these are people that are extraordinarily skilled and knowledgeable at the game. And I think that we do a pretty good job highlighting those people and giving them a platform. And again, they're all part of the community. And I think the Pokemon Pocket community is actually pretty fun. At least the competitive side of it is. I don't know. Maybe some casual people watch the channel. I really have no idea. I just assume everybody that watches my channel plays the game competitively, but that might not be the case. I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to, you can play the game however you want. Yeah, anyway, I'm just ranting at this point. This is a super long video. very long video. We should probably wrap this up to some degree. But anyway, that's my opinions. That's everything that's happened here over the last few days. Lots going on. Pokemon Day is coming up. Pokopia or whatever is coming out soon. And there's just a bunch. There's probably, hopefully there's like a Gen 10 announcement. That would be pretty cool for Pokemon Day. I've been a Pokemon fan my whole life, and I play every Pokemon game. I do everything Pokemon. I just happen to make videos about Pokemon Pocket specifically because I like Pokemon Pocket. But anyway, yeah, that's there you go. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure people have pretty strong opinions. Like I said, you know, feel free to let me know what your opinions are, but nobody's listening to me. Like I'm not I don't make the decisions around here. You know what I mean? So I don't really know. You know, I always feel weird kind of making these types of videos because it's like, I'm not trying to influence people. I'm not trying to tell people they're wrong. It's just like, you know, I don't know. Maybe people want to hear my opinions. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I figured somebody might. Who knows? I have no idea. But that's the video. So let's end it here. Tomorrow we'll do our best decks for ranked because ranked will be wrapping up in a few days, I guess. So we'll do that. PMPT number 21 is this weekend. Come and compete because there's no other. This is your option here. You play the community run tournaments or not. So there you go. But yeah, guys. That's the video. What are your thoughts about the new cards? I would love to hear it. I know some people initially are probably going to be, if I had to guess, I'd be like, well, you know, people, it's Paldea. Maybe people just are going to be disappointed in Paldea. Maybe they see the reused artworks and they're disappointed. But when I read these cards and I actually see how they're going to impact like the metagame and how they're going to sort of interact with the current state of cards that we have, I'm actually kind of excited because they all seem pretty fun to use, and I think they're going to change the metagame quite a bit, which is, to be fair, the only things I really care that much about, which is, you know, it's fun, kind of funny. But yeah, there you go. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks again for watching. Sorry this video was so long, but I just figured I'd just get it all out in one video because why not, you know? So anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Shout out to the community. Shout out to everybody. I know it's not great news. You know, we wanted probably better news than this, but you know, it is what it is. We're going to continue doing what we do. I'm going to continue doing what I do because I just do it because I want to, quite frankly. And you should too. So anyway, guys, there it is. Peace out. Have a good one. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I appreciate all of you guys. Shout out to everybody. And yeah, there it is. Peace out. Bye.